podcast. This is episode 79. We're recording this on a Wednesday for reference, and here not a lot has happened news-wise or stuff-wise that we want to talk about, but like always, we're going to talk about
which probably means that on Thursday there will be about like 3 or 4 things that happen, and we'll completely miss out on it until next week.
You're gonna watch Saturday, and all this stuff happens Thursday, Friday, like always, and we'll be a week late, like always. But always WandaVision episode 6, always a week late because the way we record this. Then UFC, the pay-per-view, we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
and then
so close to $230.
The parlay, yes. But then we will talk about preview Elimination Chamber for wrestling, because we didn't have our weekly podcast this week, so we'll give our predictions about that, and then any other things we decide to come up with, if there is any, as we're recording this. But so let's get into the Vision of WandaVision episode 6, the Halloween episode. Was it the Halloween episode?
Yes.
Yes. I'm so off. Like I'm off. Like the weeks, it's throwing me off. But yes, the Halloween episode. Very interesting episode. We now know Vision cannot exist outside of Westview.
Yep.
Because he's dead.
To be honest, I wasn't entirely sure, just because for how powerful that Wanda is. I thought like that she actually somehow brought him back into actual life, but no, it's just within that realm, where if he is outside of it, yeah, he's completely dead. And just seeing that whole scene there of Wanda then just pushing back the whole barrier past, I think there were only 2 or 3 people who escaped there, and pretty much all of the operatives and the agents, they are now sucked in her like universe.
Yeah, it looked like as he was trying to escape that he was a part of it, like he was like a part of the whole thing, not like an individual like Geraldine that can like go in and went in and out without any real issue, mainly because she got straight yeeted out from Westview. So it looked like he was getting pulled apart with that, trying to come out and trying like reverting to like just a dead body. And then because they showed a quick, like, I forget what episode it was, him being dead, a vision of him being dead, no pun intended. And then he also showed Peter dead too. So I don't know if it's one and the same in terms of if he steps outside, he's dead, or it just
has to be because any person who steps outside who was previously dead, they're gonna be dead, and unless
it's somewhat different and he's not actually, people are theory that he's not actually dead, but the other one is.
And I do hope that they give a better explanation about how he's physically there in that form.
I think they will,
because that's definitely something that we need to find out for sure there,
there's 2 episodes left. They have to, they will, I would assume so. And Just I like this BuzzFeed article about some of the details like they throw in. Um, this sitcom, at least the opening sitcom, was pretty much a parody of Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
The text and all that was pretty much the same.
Which is from like
The
late
90s.
'90s, early 2000s there. So I'm fully expecting episode 7 to be a like Modern Family, like of a spin here. I'm very interested to see how Wanda and Vision are going to interact with each other now because he's going to find out, oh, I'm like not really alive, not to mention her kids on top of that, and more specifically Billy actually sense them dying. So it's like this is
Yeah,
all
he's
really
he's pretty much figured it out
yeah.
and knows because he stopped there. I forget her neighbor.
Yeah.
Um,
Who like, by the way, Matt, I'm not sure if you saw, but it's like basically for the people who aren't like involved.
Agnes. There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah. For the people who aren't actually involved with like Wanda, they're basically frozen in time, or they just do like some of the like same like
It
movements.
Yeah, it seems like if they're I got out of it if they're farther away from her, that they're kind of like you said, frozen, and then until she's like either closer or trying to interact, then they're okay. Because I guess maybe her reach or mind thing kind of is less the farther you go out. Like I that's what I got out of it, because you can see everybody not move when Vision was walking by.
Yeah.
Because Wanda was on the other side of town.
Yeah, right.
And so yeah, and then speaking of Agnes, she was dressed like a witch, and there was theories of people saying she was Agatha Harkness,
Yeah.
who
Which I
was a
think,
witch who becomes a mentor for Wanda.
I think that's eventually where things are going to eventually go for her character. And I definitely think and like Monica Rendo, I'm definitely predicting by the season finale she's getting her powers.
Yes.
fully
Obvious.
I mean, like, they've been teasing this for the last few episodes because if you recall, they were saying, hey, if like you go back in that reality, something is going to happen because her DNA has completely has like changed or like mutated.
It's
in some way.
Rewriting her cells on a molecular level twice,
Right.
as she said. I like to call back to their comic book costumes for their Halloween costumes. One that had her original Scarlet Witch. Vision had his. Same thing with Pietro. That's Pietro, not Peter. Well, same thing. Pietro, and then the kids had their own same costume from the comic books. So that was a nice little nod there.
And and speaking of him, Matt, there's definitely something sketchy about him. I got that vibe throughout the whole entire episode that there's definitely some things he's not saying that are true, because I don't think like Monica Monica. I don't think that like Wanda brought him back. This is definitely someone did something, and
something, because you can tell she's suspicious, and they're hinting at something. They're saying stuff. And I swear they have it somewhere on this. I'll find it. But I like when they were walking by in the movie theater. I'm kind of just going down this list. They had The Incredibles and The Parent Trap playing, and the relationship is The Incredibles, again, a movie about a superhero family, which look, this is a superhero family basically. And then Parent Trap is about two long lost twins reuniting, like Wanda and Pietro. So subtle. That's a nice little subtlety right there. And then The Parent Trap is kind of late 90s, early 2000s when they came out. So you have that era, like Malcolm in the Middle. And then they mentioned the accents for both of them. Warner asks about Pietro's, and then he says the same thing. But in X-Men, that Pietro was raised in the U.S., so he doesn't have an accent, right. And so they're kind of throwing a nod to that. This is the Quicksilver from X-Men's universe. Yeah. So that's I thought that was a nice little that's a nice little nod there. Yeah. Because and I also like how he talked about, he goes, I got shot like a chump on the street for no reason at all. And people, because he kind of got like killed kind of quickly.
Like randomly there.
Yeah. Something else. Could talk about Agnes. I
want to say that's pretty much it.
There's something. Okay, the thing. Okay, that's that.
Did you think that? Who is that? Commander. Who like Monica was arguing with?
Oh, the kind of the head of Sword.
What have you thought about his character? Because it's like, man, they are making him out to be like a completely incompetent sort of.
I get him as the typical guy who thinks he knows everything and is like typically just acts bad. I don't know if he turns into anybody or he is anybody, you know. But like he's blinded to everything. He's just I don't even think power hungry is the word, but like blinded by his ambitions of what he thinks is right, and it comes back to screw him over.
Yeah, because I mean, like he's definitely is portraying Wanda as this terrible person, which honestly,
basically a terrorist.
Yeah, which it's a bit of a stretch, but it's also kind of true too in a way. So it's just it's very interesting how they wrote him this season, and I'm definitely want to see what he's like in Wanda's world now, because now that thing has expanded like about tenfold there. So
yeah, and speaking of expanding, I guess when everything got turned into a circus, apparently in the comic books there's actually a plot where Scarlet, Quicksilver, and Hawkeye join the circus.
Yeah.
So I guess which obviously I didn't know about.
Yeah, I didn't either until I watched a video on that, and I was like, oh, interesting. But yeah, so now there's only 2 more episodes left. I am expecting some pretty big bombshells because as like we know, Matt, and as we've been saying, this is going to be leading right into Doctor Strange, which is actually supposed to drop next March, I believe. So very interested to see if we get any sort of Doctor Strange Easter eggs or here. So and then we're gonna lead right into Falcon and Winter Soldier. So
yeah, I think, and
content is coming.
And then I think before that they have, I guess I can't Google
Loki.
search on the computer. No, we have
Loki.
no. Yeah, but that's not what I'm going with. That. They have Marvel, Assemble. They just announced, which is like a making of docu-series of the MCU. So I think the first episode, some making of it will be coming in March. So I guess I think it's the week after. I think the next week after WandaVision is off. I think maybe the gap in between. Yeah, it's just 1 week. It'd be on March 12th, 1 week after the finale of WandaVision, on March 5th. It's interviews in like the making of, and I think the first one is the making of WandaVision. Yeah, that first episode is the making of WandaVision. I guess in future, maybe even past movies, they're saying here Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye, and Black Widow. So a little behind the scenes stuff for that, tying us over until Falcon and Winter Soldier the week after.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a no gap there.
Yeah. So yeah, we shall see how all that goes. All right. Now we're gonna lead into some MMA talk here. As we know, last weekend, UFC 258 between Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns. And man, oh man, first of all, I almost had a perfect parlay, but I knew I should have. I knew I should have picked Usman, but I got really greedy. I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling dangerous, and I was feeling a little bit too dangerous there. So, but man, this was a really fun card though, I felt, and it's like, I say this too often, it's like these like lesser cards always turn out to be really fun fights, and this was for a pretty much a like one fight show, Matt. This was a really fun pay-per-view here. So obviously we saw Usman he got off to a pretty slow start there. I would say within the first 2.5 minutes of like round one, he got like dropped with a vicious right hand by Gilbert Burns. But even towards the end of like round one, you could tell with Gilbert, he was getting tired. And I was like, this isn't good. And another thing that was evident too was that left jab of Usman's was just deadly. Like it was.
Yes.
It was the difference in the fight, and I just think too. And Rogan, and DC said this on commentary that like he probably had an adrenaline dump in that first round because as soon as the second round started, I mean, Gilbert just got put on his butt, or actually that might have been in like round one where he got put on his butt, and then in round two, man, was he just fighting just to survive, and he got put down by a left jab, man. A left jab put him
sat
down,
on his butt.
Sat on his butt, and he really never recovered, and eventually Usman finishes like Gilbert Burns, and he now I believe this was his 13th or 14th consecutive victory, which is insane. In my opinion, this guy is in very pretty prestigious territory now. He's definitely in my opinion, GSP talk as far as at least the very least the second greatest welterweight of all time now. It's just the sheer dominance that this man has had is just insane. Like, I mean, in my opinion, he probably has like one or two more fresher fights now. Now he did call out George Masvidal, which I do think that is going to happen. And according to Ariel Helwani, that looks to be happening in August right now. Which, I mean, if you're Usman, it makes a ton of sense just because at this point, in his career, he wants the fight that's going to get him the most money, and the only fight that is going to actually do that is a fight against George. I mean, like, yeah, it would be a really good, a really competitive fight with a Colby Covington, but I think that pay-per-view with him and Colby only did around 400,000 buys or 350,000 buys. So Colby really isn't a like draw, or as George, from the first fight that did 1.3 million buys. Like that's pig's volumes right there. So I do not blame Usman at all for that, and it looks like that both George and Usman are going to be the Ultimate Fire coaches, which is basically UFC's version of like Tough Enough, where they are coaches for about eight other fighters on their teams. It's about like 6 or 7 weeks, and it eventually builds to a like, pay-per-view, and that's pretty much is what is being set up there. So I'm pretty excited for that fight there. I'm just continue to be impressed with just how great of a fighter that Usman is. He's really cementing himself, Matt, as clearly one of the best of
in that division. Yeah,
I mean, especially at like 170, because outside of like lightweight, there's no tougher weight class right now. So that's really impressive. Other fights in that co-main event, Alexa Caruso, she won a very impressive fight over like Macy Barber, who was just coming off a torn ACL. You could definitely tell she was rusty and not as aggressive, except in like round 3 where she really turned it on. And I felt if she was fighting at that consistent pace for all 3 rounds, she probably wins this fight here. So but a very impressive performance though by Alexa, and I think she was ranked at number 15 at 125, so she's definitely is going to be moving up there. That's becoming a much more competitive weight class now, and as we have seen that women's MMA has just evolved so much in the last 3 years. I mean, it's clearly UFC's weakest on women's division right now, and that's especially as long as like Valentina Shevchenko is champion there. Ain't no one beating her, but yeah, that's been a very exciting division there. We also saw Calvin Gastelum get a very important win over Ian Heinisch. Calvin, he was on a like 3-fight losing streak, and this was a very vital win, because I mean like 4 straight losses. At that point, you will be looking at possibly at being cut at that point. So he now gets back into things. I would imagine he'll probably get a like top 6 guy now at this point. So very interested to see things go there. We saw Ricky Simone get a very impressive impressive win over Brian Kelleher. He just wrestled and wrestled and wrestled this man to absolute death. A pretty convincing win outside of like some like front outside of some like front kicks that he took. Not a very competitive fight there. And Matt, do you recall? Oh yeah, this was the fight that completely screwed up your whole entire parlay here, and that was the main event of the prelims. Matt, I've seen some bad cardio. I've seen Dada 5000 nearly die fighting Kimbo Slice and Bellator. I have never seen a guy get tired so quickly in that short amount of time.
He did so much and he didn't finish the guy.
Like,
and then he stood up and was dead.
Like, it was literally 2 minutes in round one and he was already dead. He was already gone. Like, I'm not sure if it was his physique, if it was his weight cut, which is completely just dehydrated.
I don't know,
but that was one of the crazier things that happened. And what was even more crazier was after the fight, my man DC had one of the greatest clips ever. He was making fun of people who were calling him fat.
Oh God!
Just DC Rogan and are by far my favorite commentary team. Just say like DC.
They don't care.
They don't give a single shit. And DC was giving me a lot of Booker T vibes, where like he'll just say something that makes zero damn sense, but it's hilarious as hell. And man, just I love having these like three on commentary, and I hope that they are going to be on commentary for the UFC 259, which that pay-per-view is looking like a loaded show. 3 title fights, and I mean, which is doesn't have a great track record. They've been historically really long shows. Helmet, I recall a show that they had, and we were at the casino until like 2 a.m. At like one time, like just really, those can be really long fights, especially if all 3 fights go to
the distance. Yeah,
go to scorecards, which I believe that the last show did, and we were just.
Did he freeze? I guess, yeah, because he froze. I guess, yes, we were dead. Just like that. Frozen with exhaustion. There he is. He's back.
Apparently it said my internet was unstable. I guess it's now stable.
Yeah. So, I know I don't know if it's the headphones or it's your end. I don't know what end, but I don't know what it sounds like to you when I'm talking, but you sound like, crackling stuff, but I don't know on whose end and what end that is, but I don't know. I would just say when you were frozen, I was like, yeah, we were just like that, dead, frozen with exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta love
but that was
technology, folks.
But that was UFC 258. This weekend is Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades. I'll be on Twitter on Saturday, tweeting along for that show as well. So stay tuned for that. And now, to close out this podcast this week, Matt, we're going to get into some professional wrestling talk because we have a pay-per-view on Sunday, and that is the Elimination Chamber. So what are your initial thoughts about the show? We assume that there aren't going to be any changes. But then again, like Raw, we saw like Miz, he pulled out, which I'm guessing that somebody realized, oh hey, having him in this match does make a ton of sense.
Another match WWE has on their website. has to change. They have Asuka versus Lacey Evans. Because she's legit pregnant.
Yeah, obviously.
She's not taking a kick
this.
from Asuka.
Yeah.
Because even if it's just storyline,
she's not going to even pump or anything. So it's like obviously that's going to change.
yeah. So
honestly,
that leaves.
I'll be shocked if she even has a title match on this show. I think they'll probably just take her off of it because, like, what are they going to exactly do here? Like,
I don't know.
I mean,
so that leaves 3 matches.
Yeah.
So
like
we got.
Well, yeah.
We got Lashley versus Keith Lee versus Riddle for the U.S. Championship.
Who, like, by the way, there is some like rumors going around that like Keith Lee is actually hurt, so that could also change possibly.
Okay. Hypothetically, if he's not hurt.
Yeah. Lashley, he ain't losing. Like, they have booked that man like a freaking monster. I don't see him losing anytime.
I can see some BS where somehow Riddle wins somehow, because even though he's lost, I've seen some BS. But if I was them, I'd go with Lashley. And then you have, I think this is a similar thing to what NXT did with the women's triple threat, that Riddle will take the fall, and then you set up the one-on-one with Keith Lee, who will eventually beat Lashley, because I can totally see Keith Lee beat like just by the eye test. I think Keith Lee is the only one, at least on the Raw roster, that can like legit beat Lashley and nobody questions it.
And I think they're definitely are building to Keith Lee versus Lashley at like WrestleMania,
and I'm all down for it.
I'm down for that,
because they made Keith Lee, when he faced Riddle, destroyed him and looked good. All down for those two big boys to go. I think that's just going to be a hard hitting. I think that's going to be like an underrated. But if the card is fleshed out, at least the top that we think it's going to go, I think that Lashley Keith Lee match is going to be like that underrated. Like, oh, look at this. Oh, but look, we got Keith Lee and Lashley, and that should be just bonkers. I can't wait.
I would assume as well, Matt. We're probably are getting Nia and Shayna versus Lana and like Naomi probably on the show.
Maybe pre-show.
Yeah. I would assume that's going to happen.
Or something with Asuka on the pre-show.
Or like they did on SmackDown, tease on Bianca and Sasha as a team, so we could even see that possibly.
I don't know. I think you can leave.
Put it past
I think you can leave them off.
Yeah,
what?
I agree.
I think you can leave them off for a pay-per-view because you still have Fastlane.
Yeah.
This pay-per-view doesn't need to be overtly long, and they've been good with shorter pay-per-views, because you have the SmackDown Elimination Chamber match plus Roman Reigns versus the winner, so you had to add another match there. The SmackDown match includes Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, Owens, Jey Uso, King Corbin, and Sami Zayn.
Yeah,
with who was? Did they announce who was last? Did they announce? Raw is the only one they announced who was coming out last in the chamber.
It's Sheamus. I don't think they are we doing anything with that on SmackDown side because like they're actually creative with their shit and they don't need to do it.
I know. I couldn't remember. It was the stipulation whoever wins faces later. So I can possibly. Yeah, I can see this opening the show. Because if they're doing it later, because they didn't say right after.
I think it's opening up the show because because
That's the hot match out of the two.
Right, and as you guys, but actually no, because didn't Heyman say, oh no, they would face like Roman right after
I can't remember. It was
after
right at
the match.
Let me see here.
I think it is actually. So actually no, I think
Because
I don't think that's going to be.
Oh, okay. So it says face the winner on the. Okay, there's two things I'm reading. Because on the same night, but if I continue reading down in this preview, it would say, would instead face the winner of the SmackDown Elimination Chamber match on the spot at February 21st pay-per-view. So
maybe I think it's going to be. I think it's
maybe it closes.
Right after, it has to,
yeah.
because it makes sense too. It's like because they could easily say, oh, like Heyman, he pulled some strings and like this is going to happen at the very end, and then they will go in to like a Roman versus whomever, which I think only one of two people are possibilities here, Matt. It's either Kevin Owens or Cesaro.
Yes.
To me, anyone else I don't think are really viable options. Sami Zayn, no. Corbin,
no. Corbin, no. Corbin and Zayn, just right off the bat, are heels. Right. You're not having a heel face against Roman.
On top of that, they haven't been anywhere near in the main event scene, so it just they're out.
Right. But just heel squad. Uso, no. Interesting dynamic though to get a shot. I mean, just to have him in there, and then in legit shoot way is interesting dynamic. But no, Daniel Bryan hasn't really been winning.
Yeah, I think if anything, Jay, he comes down at the very end, and then like he loses to whomever then.
I think it's Owens or Cesaro. I think it's the only two. They have been really pushing Cesaro, and he did have a good promo on Talking Smack, a passionate one. So that's gives you some maybe like as a one-off. But I'm going with. I think they do the safe thing and go with Owens.
Yeah,
but like you said, I think Cesaro could be a sneaky dark horse.
Honestly, I'm going with Cesaro here. I think he's been built up more, and no offense against Kevin Owens, but I do not want to see this for a fourth time now. Like
I'm torn. I agree with you, but I'm just thinking.
It's just like I mean, like he will get a really good rub from this, and as we have seen, from anyone who has been in the ring with the Roman Reigns, have come up better on the other side. I don't think that's going to change here. If they go with Cesaro, I'm trying to figure out what they do with Owens for him not to win. Yeah. I definitely feel like we'll probably see
Jay or somebody
Jay.
Screws.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure who, but I think that's probably is what's going to happen because I just don't think it makes a lot of sense to like do that again for the fourth time.
I agree, but
really hinting at it, and I'm really I think that is a like a red herring, honestly.
I agree. I just went with Owens just based on past practice. That's the safe bet.
I also think, man, we're probably getting an IC championship and IC championship match. I think we're probably getting a triple threat between Big E, Apollo, and like Nakamura or something like that. Just based on
something's going to get added. Yeah.
Ended. Yeah. So I think they really probably add that because
I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, like I don't know. I don't know what if it's internet. I don't know. It's just weird. Maybe more. It was more than usual, but we'll kind of have all the way through this thing, so it doesn't matter now.
Okay.
Oh well.
But and then we'll just talk, or
we got the Raw one.
Yeah, and that
shocker, Drew wins.
Anyway, yeah, like it's a foregone conclusion here. I do wonder if we're going to get any tease whatsoever about who he's going to face at like WrestleMania. I just
know he'll probably face Sheamus at Fastlane.
Yeah, like he'll definitely face some Sheamus at Fastlane. Just do not give us Sheamus versus Drew at WrestleMania. Like, just I don't want to see that. Give us someone.
I don't think they will.
I might get. I don't think either. Like, it just just horrible timing on his part here, man. Just very.
I think it's just. I think horrible how they booked everybody else.
Yeah.
Because Orton's obviously going to get screwed out of by Bray.
Mm-hmm.
In some form or fashion. AJ Hardy, just no. I think it's just a face put in there. AJ most likely not. Kofi, they put Kofi in there, and I think that was the right choice as a replacement for Kofi Mania last year. Elimination Chamber makes somewhat of sense. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, it can happen again, but Sheamus is the actual feud.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I agree.
It's just you look at both Elimination Chamber matches and go, the difference. We said this last week. Just look at the difference of the setup between each of them. And so I guess that's the Elimination Chamber that we know of. This is before SmackDown, so we only can predict what we know is possible.
Yeah. So there's that, and and obviously Roman, he will 100% retain. Shocker. But I do think we'll probably see Edge on this show, and I would not be surprised either if he attacks Roman and says, "I am choosing you as my opponent at like WrestleMania." So I think
that would be a good way to close out.
I agree, and I think that's probably where we're going to end up going, because we've been given no indication that we're even thinking about doing Edge versus McIntyre. And to me, the heat is with Edge and like Roman, as I've said from the very beginning here.
And it would be no, I'm just not gonna say. I was gonna say maybe Edge somehow appears tonight on NXT because after the match and address
possible.
I feel like they would advertise him, but I don't think they did yet.
Speaking of NXT match, some unfortunate news. Apparently, we are not getting Karrion Kross versus Escobar on NXT tonight, which is a little bit of a bummer there.
When they announced, damn it.
I've
just seen it now.
They aren't. Yeah, they aren't advertising it now. So I wonder if someone got hurt or they just had too much on the show and they just didn't want to add that on yet. Maybe it like happens. Maybe it like happens next week or something. Yeah.
Maybe this story. I don't know if it's storyline or something. Maybe they address it. I guess they obviously have to. Yeah,
I would hope so. But and speaking of NXT as well, we got some news about that as well. So according to Fightful.com, more specifically Fightful Select, they reported that we're going to be getting reportedly a second show for NXT, which is going to be a true developmental system here. For the longest time, everyone thought that NXT was that, but I think it's been pretty clear it's like not been. And I would imagine we would probably get a like 1 hour show every single week. And reportedly, this is being produced by Gabe Sapolsky, former Evolve
Yeah.
promoter, and Jeremy Porash, who was in TNA for the longest time there.
And apparently they taped the pilot episode.
Right.
And it's more like in a warehouse type of setting, more like a fight feeling, like a, yeah. I was about to say like a Raw Underground, but not as like that, obviously. But I think this is a good thing, because you can build people up that are not TV ready.
Yeah.
And you can see the new people coming in or whatever, and the trainees.
And they definitely need that. They definitely need that because for as big as that roster is right now, like there's only so much TV time for everyone, you know.
I consider this an AEW dark thing, where you can get people on and exposed, but not take up your main TV time.
No.
Which I think it's always a bonus, and I've read the NXT of NXT, and why is this popping up? Freaking Microsoft Teams. You got the latest updates. Enjoy. I don't want to enjoy right now, Microsoft Teams. It's popping up. It's loading. Oh, god damn. Anyways, yeah, I think this is a good. I'm interested in seeing how it's presented and what they do. I guess this paves the way for, more focus on the bigger stars to be showcased on Wednesday night. So I'm down for it. It's going to be interesting. You can just see stuff. It's not going to be like the greatest thing. Like maybe it's not going to be like eye-popping. This should be on TV. It's a developmental show.
It's going to be what FCW.
Yes.
Essentially, it's going to be,
or NXT was initially.
Yeah, it's going to be a very different looking show. Which, and as I said, like they have a huge roster and only so much TV time to go around, and there are guys and girls who need to get constant reps in there, and it gives them a good feel for everything going on there, and cutting promos and just getting used to that to that feeling there. So I really like this idea. Honestly, I do assume that this will probably be airing on like Peacock eventually,
the network.
And how NXT used to be 1 hour show. Definitely I'll definitely give that a look there to see how that is. But there isn't too much other news. I did see something interesting, Matt. I'm wondering if like we might see Selena Vega on AEW tonight. She's been tweeting some cryptic tweets, and like her 90-day non-compete clause is currently up now. So I do wonder if they might involve her with Santana and Ortiz, which I would be all for, by the way. So just something to keep an eye on, possibly for tonight. But yeah, guys, as like we said, unfortunately, no like wrestling show this week, but we are planning on doing a like Elimination Chamber stream on Sunday night. So
never mind.
Yeah,
I was like, of course, there's no wrestling show. It already didn't happen. I hate trying to talk in the past.
Yeah, so obviously that isn't going to happen, but we will for sure be back on Sunday. We will be talking about Elimination Chamber. Hopefully, we have some more clarity on where things are going for WrestleMania, but chances are probably not. But we shall see. So, Matt, you got anything to add before we
No,
close this
no,
out?
pretty much typical. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. You know the drill. Again, podcast every Saturday at 3 p.m. here on the channel. Live reaction wrestling review show, we call it, typically now every Friday after SmackDown, except for yesterday, and depending on our schedules and all that. But that's usually, look for that right after SmackDown goes off the air. So for John, I'm Matt. And thanks for watching. A little shorter podcast this week, and we will see you tomorrow, Sunday, after Elimination Chamber. Have a good one.